Hello. Today we're going to talk about the advancement of human rights and social justice in the field. As a reminder, social justice is the broad concept that encompasses fair, unbiased treatment of all individuals. When we talk about social justice, we're talking about both the individual and large scale, because we're concerned with empowerment, human rights, distribution and structural social justice, and creative capitalism, activism against oppression and discrimination, particularly with social and political contexts. We're also discussing building advocacy and identifying, transforming, and eradicating systems that generate inequality, disparity, and social injustice. Eric Liu once said, "We are not just spectators or an audience waiting the actions of the next scene held in suspense. We are the authors too of what happens next." And that's because we must commit to changing the narrative on social justice. We do this by taking stock in our ability to create systematic change and understanding the idea of the ripple effect, that one small thing can have a larger impact that creates more and more change. To do this, we have to understand that positions must be open to all under the conditions of fair and equitable opportunities, and that the greatest benefits must go for the least advantaged members of our society. But in order to do that, we must understand the types and sources of power. There are three main types of power. So the first one is corrosive and dominant power. This is likely the most obvious of all the powers. It uses the command of resources to dominate others and force them into submission. The next one is authoritarian and legitimate power. Society creates order by acknowledging power on the basis of traditions, norms, and laws. Members of dominant society accept specific individuals or groups on the basis of a sense of legitimacy and obedience. We tend to see this type of power in our agencies. And then there's privilege and interdependent power. This is subtle, but focuses specifically on the power relationship between people. Often one does not realize exactly how much influence they have in a given situation. Power increases when others are dependent on their contribution. The idea of privilege and interdependence power can occur in the individual social work. Coupling authority and privileged power can be a source of social injustice and an agency. The other concepts that we need to consider when we're looking at how to move social justice implications into our field and our practice is considering the social identity and social locations. Social identity is how we define ourselves. It may seem fixed, but over the lifespan, it becomes more fluid. It interplays of choices, life events, community recognition and expectations, societal categories, classifications, and socialization. Identity points to the connection among us as individuals, how we are perceived by others, and how we are classified by social institutions. Then there's social locations, a way of expressing the core of a person's existence in societal and political world. The groups people are a part of, because of their place or position in history or society, is how we get defined. So examples include race, gender, ability, religion, sexual identity and orientation, class, and geographical location. How we identify ourselves and how our agencies identify our clients can be conflicted, not intentionally, but sometimes based on that authority power. And the social locations can make it very difficult for us to be able to do our work, especially if we are depicted by policy and procedures of a government that do not see the same social locations as we do of our clients. The implications of field and the strategies for social change include the increase of self-awareness. This includes a moving away from a single recognition that discrimination is bad to a full confrontation of privilege that the social work agency continues to have in relations to social locations and of the clients served. Another part is in moving into a direction of justice-informed engagement, assessment, and interventions. Social workers are better prepared to infuse justice with a focus on enhancing individual economic, psychological, and social conditions through a collaborative approach and interventions. For example, using client-centered and strength-based empowerment approaches, using biopsychosocial assessments that include inclusive language, asking questions regarding to individual perception of the world and communities, and incorporation of the client's preference of cultural and religion interventions. And the last part is incorporating justice-informed policies and systems through advocacy. This is addressing social and organization policies that perpetuate inequalities or upholding privileges. This could be the hardest part to implement due to fear. But remember, fear can paralyze, but it should not be, because you have the skills and the ability to make that ripple change. So as you assess your agency for social justice components, be honest but fair, and ask yourself, what areas of implication and strategies can your agency make in moving towards a more social justice and human rights atmosphere?